Well, I think we'll get underway then, and welcome to my session, Empowering Your Marketing Teams to Create Personalized Content with a Salesforce Marketing Cloud Content Builder Block SDK. It's quite a mouthful. Well, firstly, just a bit about me. My name is Eliot Harper, and I've been working with Marketing Cloud for many years now. I'm a Salesforce MVP, which is an award given by Salesforce to recognize experts and their contribution to the community. So I'm one of a few, let's say, 3 Marketing Cloud experts who have received that MVP nomination, so that's a privilege to get. I'm very active in the user community and co-lead the Marketing Cloud Developers Group that I started 5 years ago. I've also written books and articles on Marketing Cloud, including my latest book, The AMP Guide, is a comprehensive scripting reference manual for Salesforce Marketing Cloud that I co-authored with Adam Spriggs, who's also an MVP, so a bit of a shameless plug for that book. Well, before we get underway, I've got something really exciting to share with you guys this afternoon. You ready for this? And yes, you've guessed it, it's that forward-looking statement. So I'm obliged to remind you that Salesforce is a publicly traded company, as such you need to base your purchases on product and services already available. So with that out of the way, let's move straight on then. So in this session, I'm going to be, oh dear. Hello? Hello, no, I'm back. So someone sat on a control or something. Anyway, so in this session we'll be, I'll give you an overview of their Content Builder Block SDK, explain what it is and what it does and what it doesn't do. We'll look at the architecture of the SDK, some of the methods that are exposed through the SDK that you can use, the auth flow, which is a relatively new method available in the SDK, and finally I want to go and demonstrate a custom block that I've built, which is just about to go live on App Exchange. So that's very exciting to share that with you. It's a live exclusive preview here at Salesforce World Tour. Well, firstly, what is the Marketing Cloud Content Builder Block SDK? And let's just call it the Custom Block SDK, because that's a bit of a mouthful. So the SDK is really part of a suite of developer tools, and these developer tools have emerged for Salesforce Marketing Cloud over the past decade, dating back to the SOAP API, which came out in 2007. The REST API was released in 2012, with SDKs with various native language constructs along the way. But in addition to all these API-based tools, Marketing Cloud has really been built with extensibility in mind. And the ability to create and expose external apps within Marketing Cloud has been available for several years now. In 2014, Salesforce complemented Journey Builder by extending support for custom activities. And now Salesforce has progressed their platform extensibility even further with the introduction last year of the Content Block SDK, which enables custom block widgets to be augmented from within Content Builder. And this is just really exciting. And in fact, it's a much anticipated addition for the development community. It's something that Salesforce has hinted over in recent years. In fact, I recall at Connections 2014, Salesforce made that announcement, albeit shrouded in forward-looking statements, that they intended to support third-party widgets within applications. So I think it's important to understand firstly what the SDK is and what it's not. So the SDK provides an interface for creating and editing email content. It doesn't render content when an email is previewed or sent. So in turn, your application needs to go and generate interpretable code for inclusion in the email, for example, like HTML or even AMP script. So content created by these custom blocks is interpreted in just the same method that other blocks in an email are, which uses outbound mail management or an OMM process. And so, this content that you go and create needs to be valid HTML, but it means that it can also include supported server-side languages, such as guide template language or AMP script. And in turn, this server-side code can be generated by your custom block to render content. So this kind of probably begs the question for developers in the audience. Well, hang on, so if all this is doing is just generating interpretable code, well, why bother creating custom blocks in the first place? Why don't you just go and write the code? Well, I mean, simply put, custom blocks provide end users, that is marketing professionals, with the ability to create sophisticated content without the need for code. So any Marketing Cloud user can create sophisticated content in a fraction of the time that it would take to code. And there are many applications for this, including, it could be, maybe you want to include a personalized map, so using the Google Maps API and AmScript HTTP post request to interact with that. Maybe it's generating a dynamic pie charts or bar graphs using the Google Charts API. It could be for weather and news feeds, social media. Maybe it's integration with content management system. So if you have a content management system and you want to retrieve content from that CMS, you could use the SDK for that. And maybe as a replacement for the built-in rich text editor, which uses the open source TK editor, you can just go and replace it with your own. There are really no limitations in what you can use the custom block SDK for. So I want to start explaining kind of a high-level architecture of the block framework and how it works. So everything occurs within Content Builder. There's no requirement for server-to-server requests. I mean, you can have them, but they're not necessary at all. So the block, your custom block, is initialized by dragging it to a supported content area in an email template. So notice that I've got some little icons down in my palette here, and I just go and drag that over to a supported area in a template. And when I do so, the block SDK is initialized, and Content Builder then iframes my URL for my custom block inside the Content Builder interface. Now, in the simplest form, a custom block could just be an HTML page with a client-side JavaScript. In fact, the app that I'm going to be sharing is actually 95% of it is all client-side, and there's very little that I'm doing server-side, and I'll disclose what I am doing. As a result, it's kind of extremely fast. And the custom block interacts with Content Builder using some methods which are effectively a lightweight wrapper that wraps around cross-document messaging, enabling bi-directional communication between your custom block and Content Builder. So this means your custom block communicates through the wrapper, not to a server. So you're not having to make server API requests. And this can really be hosted anywhere. There are no limitations. And of course, your app can also authenticate with your own system. So you can be retrieving your own content that you can use in Marketing Cloud, like from a content management system, for example. So the SDK provides several very easy to use JavaScript methods for enabling bidirectional communication of content and data between your custom block and Content Builder. And rather than explain each method in turn, instead I'd like to share a custom block that I've developed, and I'll indicate which methods I'm using and explain what they do during my demonstration. But before we get to that, I firstly want to explain the architecture flow for a new method, you see at the end, trigger auth. So while a custom block enables you to create interpretable content, there are many scenarios when you'd also want to interact with a Marketing Cloud API. And so, of course, you can really do this in Marketing Cloud. They have an API, and you can do this by creating an API integration or building a Marketing Cloud app. And so with a Marketing Cloud app, you can go and select your app from the App Exchanger menu in Marketing Cloud. And when you do that, Marketing Cloud makes a post request to a login endpoint with a JOT, a JSON Web Token. And then you can decode that JOT and use the OAuth credentials within it to go and authenticate with the Marketing Cloud API in the context of the logged in user. Now, at Dreamforce, Salesforce announced that this support has been extended to custom blocks. So before, you could only communicate cross-document with the SDK. And it does that through like an 8-step process. So firstly, the block widget page is initialized when you go and open the block in Content Builder. And then your block widget then initializes the block SDK. And you can then go and call the trigger auth method to go from the SDK. And when you do that, what it does is it punches a hole in your page as this little 1 pixel iframe, which is just invisible to the user. But it's exposing a login page, an SSO page. And this page goes and makes a post request with obviously encoded JOT to the login URL that you've gone and defined for your app. And so your app can then go and decode that JOT and request a token, and you can now make API calls to Marketing Cloud. And again, this is entirely optional, but it's kind of a new, exciting advancement in the API. So onto my app then. So something that I've been trying to solve for many years now actually is how can Marketing Cloud users create sophisticated personalized content without code in Marketing Cloud? Well, I mean, firstly, I think it's important to explain what I mean by this noun personalization. And I'm not really referring to merging fields in a database. I mean, this has been done for decades. I'm really talking about creating content programmatically to meet individual requirements. And this action requires programmable content. You see, personalization is just really a byproduct of programmable content. And authoring or creating programmable content is not easy. So, for example, we've got a simple email up here, and let's just say we want to do things. I just want to show a first name. I want to conditionally display this first name. That's if the first name does not exist in our sendable data extension, we want to remove the comma, the space character, we want to go and capitalize weave, to an uppercase W. And we've also got an offer expiry date, which varies for each subscriber in a sendable data extension. And this is actually derived from a date field, and we want to display this in this friendly long format. And of course, offers can change based on subscriber, perhaps based on the website browsing behavior, to where we want to go and retrieve, say, a row set of recent past page visits from a data extension that didn't convert to purchases. So all of these use cases require AmpScript. And even a very simple function, just as this first name here, to conditionally display a first name requires an IIF function. Let's see what's happening here. So it's saying IIF, and then we've got another nested function, empty, an AmpScript function, and then we're going to get the first name field from our sendable data extension. And if it is empty, then we're going to display W. Otherwise, we're going to use a concat AmpScript function to go and put the first name and then concatenate it with a comma and a space and a W. And look, this just looks plain intimidating. And this is the easiest function to write. And herein lies the problem. So I came up with this a solution called Scriptly, which enables users to create highly sophisticated content personalization, leveraging the power of AmpScript in Marketing Cloud without writing any code at all. And this is a patent-pending innovation that just uses a visual programming language to create programmable content in Marketing Cloud by manipulating elements graphically rather than specifying them textually, like writing code. And there are many benefits of this solution. So all of a sudden it makes AmpScript totally accessible without requiring any scripting knowledge at all. It completely eliminates the potential for syntactic errors. It enables sophisticated content personalization to be created quickly and easily, without any technical expertise. And it's very easy and fun to use. So let's go and take a look. So in the last few minutes, here we are in Content Builder, and I'm just going to go and create a new email message. I'm just going to go and select any template. And I'll go and give it a name. Hello. And next we have to go and give our email a subject line, otherwise it will complain bitterly, so let's go and do that. Would you like fries with that? And here you can see that I've got my a custom block, Scriptly, and I'm going to go and drag this to an available content area. So let's go and do that. I'll chuck it up here. And when I do that, my application is injecting some JavaScript libraries into this block and initializing it. And at the same time, it's gone and initialized the block SDK, and I've used that trigger auth method to go and get the SDK to make a request to my login endpoint and go and get the OAuth credentials in the context of the logged in user. And I'm just using that, obviously that's entirely optional, I'm just using it at the moment just for like 3 basic API calls, which we'll see in a minute. And I've got this toolbox of available objects, so we can work with data and formatting and logic and math and more. But for now, I'm just going to go and start with data. In fact, before I do, I'll introduce you to the next method I'm using. You'll notice that when I went and opened it, if you observe closely, it just kind of grows slightly. So this is actually it's a new method that was introduced in the January release just a few weeks ago, where we can now go and set the block editor width by the set block editor width method. So it was before you were constrained to your interface had to be within 425 pixels, which is kind of a bit too tight for me. So I've grown that out to 450 pixels, and you can expand up to 850 pixels. And so I've got this little toggle here, and this is all built in Lightning as well, using React. Just the maximum it can go. So let's go and create an object. So I'm going to go and select Add Data Extension. And when I do, it's actually gone and made an API request and got every single data extension and the folder on the account and displaying them here in the menu, which is kind of cool. So let's go and select one. I'll go and say Travel Car Members. And a few things have happened here. So you may have observed that on our right-hand side, we see an image appears, and this is called super content. And so I'm using this method called set super content to go and display some content in here. So this could be it could be an image or some text, because the way that Marketing Cloud works is that we can't see what this content is going to look like while we're in editing mode. It's not until we actually go and send it. And so super content is designed for preview purposes only. Enables the user to kind of see the context. And in this case, I'm actually just generating an image of my SVG object here. This is an SVG canvas. I'm not able to go and set super content in an SVG object. There's they got some sanitization going on, so no worries. I'm just doing client side. I'm just generating an image. Anyway, moving on. So we can also, let's go and configure that. And in the interest of time, I'll just go and configure that to a string constant. And this is all contextual. So if I try and put a numeric constant here, it won't let me because it knows that region field is a text string, so it has to be a text string. In fact, let's go and from that data extension, we'll look up maybe the first name where the region is equal to, say, Europe, for example, and just drag that to the trash here. And so when I've done that, 2 things have happened now. So firstly, it's gone and set content. So set content is actually going to be displayed in our HTML view here, and you can see it's generated that interpretable AMScript code. And I've done so in a fashion that's highly optimized. So if you go and duplicate that object, or maybe use that same object in a different block in my email, it's only going to make that database request once, because I've just made a hash of the arguments that have been passed to that lookup rows function. Let me just go and click Done Editing. So I want to show you something cool now. So that's set content and set super content. But there's also a notion of data. And so when I went and configured that, I'm using a set data method to go and store 2 things. Firstly, the block editor width, and also the SVG objects that I've gone and added to my canvas. And it's just stored as a JSON inside the email. So it's not accessible to a user, it's only to a block. So if we go back in here, now I'm using the get data method to go and retrieve all of the, in this case, my SVG. And I've actually gone and also retrieved the width. And so I'm able to go and restore that expanded width. So it kind of remembers it using the set block editor width. Let's go and just, gosh, we're almost out of time. I'm just going to go and quickly add some other functions here. So we'll go and quickly go and here's a math object, and I'm just going to chuck some numeric constants here. Let's get carried away. 1, 2, and let's go and drag these over to this object here, and we're going to have a look at the code. We can see that here I'm just using the add AMScript function. If I just go and change the operand here to something like multiply, and go back here, you can see it's been changed to multiply. And we can do anything, like even interacting with other content blocks. So I'm just going to go to utilities, click add content, it's make an API request to go and retrieve all the available content blocks. I'll just go and select one and drag this, and obviously I can nest this inside a conditional statement here, and it's going to go and output that content using AMScript in this if statement here. And I can also go and create variables, and I realize we're out of time, but let's go and quickly do that. I'll just create a new one called first name, for example, and I can now go and drag that first name to my canvas, and let's go and I'll just go and quickly add a string constant, say Eliot, and when I do Eliot, if we go to the HTML editor, you can see the variables have been declared and it's been set. And there's a kind of other useful feature I've gone and built in, so I thought it would be handy. If I just go and right click on here, I've got a contextual menu that I can go and copy that variable, and now I can jump into a different content area or content block and just go and paste that. And you can see that it's gone and pasted. It is inline AMScript using the AMScript v function. So just to wrap this up then, we're out of time, and so these are highlighting the methods that I looked at. There are some other ones less common. There's get user data, which is, as the name implies, goes and gets data about the user and the context. There's also get central data and set central data. These are undocumented at the moment. I told engineering about it. But what you have to remember is the custom block only enables you to go and interact. The only data that you have in content is in the context of your block. You don't know anything about the context of the email or other blocks on the page. But you can go and use set central data. So when you go and set a block, you can also use set central data. So if you then go and use another custom block, that custom block can go and check using get central data to say, oh, there's some other blocks on the page, and maybe it's based on this account, or kind of whatever data you want to store in there. So yeah, look, in summary, I guess the need for highly personalized communication is just greater than ever before. Organizations today, they really need to anticipate and quickly react to customer needs and market demands. And through providing rapid development and platform extensibility, the SDK enables highly sophisticated and relevant content to be displayed quickly with ease and agility. Now, just in closing, if you're interested in the Scriptly custom block that I've developed, I'm looking for some pilot sites in the coming weeks. So either speak to me after or catch me on LinkedIn. I'd love to have a discussion with you. So thanks for attending, and I'll be around if you've got any questions.